70 million people live in a kingdom that has never been colonized, preserving a culture shaped by Buddhism, monarchy, and geography that made Thailand the crossroads of Southeast Asia for over 1,000 years. This is the country where 95% of the population practices Theravada Buddhism. With over 40,000 temples creating a landscape where saffron-robed monks walk streets at dawn, collecting alms in a tradition that connects contemporary Thailand to practices unchanged for centuries. The beaches are genuinely spectacular, with limestone casts rising from turquoise water in formations that appear on every tourism brochure for good reason. The food is extraordinary, with the balance of sweet, sour, salty, and spicy being refined over generations into a cuisine that has conquered the world while remaining most authentic in street stalls charging 50 baht per plate. Yet Thailand is also politically unstable, with 12 successful military coups since 1932. Environmental destruction, with coral reefs dying from tourism pressure, and economic inequality, where Bangkok's wealth contrasts sharply with rural poverty. Subscribe to Passport Unfolded and see Thailand Unfiltered. Bangkok. The capital contains 14 million people in a metropolitan area that extends for kilometers in every direction from the Chao Phraya River. With the density creating traffic congestion so severe that the BTS SkyTrain and MRT subway are essential for movement during peak hours. The Grand Palace and Wat Phra Kaew are spectacular examples of Thai royal architecture. With the mirrored mosaics and gold leaf creating buildings that shimmer in the tropical sun. Though the experience is diminished by the crowds and the dress code enforcement. The street food scene is among the world's best, with vendors on Yaowarat Road in Chinatown grilling seafood and serving noodles until dawn. Bangkok is full of contradictions, with luxury malls beside informal settlements and traditional culture coexisting with relentless modernization. Chiang Mai. The northern capital sits in a valley surrounded by mountains. With the old city enclosed by a moat and remnants of defensive walls built in the 13th century when it was the capital of the LANTA kingdom. Over 300 temples are scattered throughout the city, with Wat Phra That Doi Suthep on the mountain above being the most sacred, requiring a climb of 309 steps to reach the golden chedi that contains Buddha relics. The city is cooler than Bangkok, with the elevation and the mountains creating a microclimate that makes it pleasant from November through February, but oppressive from March through May, when burning agricultural fields create smoke that makes the air quality among the worst in the world. Chiang Mai is pleasant and cultured, with temples, mountains, and a pace that feels relaxed compared to Bangkok's intensity. Chiang Mai. The northernmost major city is the gateway to the Golden Triangle, where Thailand, Myanmar, and Laos meet at the confluence of the Ruak and Mekong rivers. The White Temple, or Wat Rong Khun, is the creation of artist Chalamchai Kositpipat, who has been building and decorating the structure since 1997. Using white plaster and mirror fragments that catch the sun and create a building that glows from every angle. The Blue Temple, or Wat Rong Swaya 10, is equally remarkable in a different way, with its deep blue exterior covered in gold patterns and the interior housing a white Buddha surrounded by serpent motifs. The city is quieter than Chiang Mai, with fewer tourists and a frontier atmosphere appropriate for a city near the borders. The Night Bazaar and the Clock Tower are also designed by Kositpipat. Phuket. Thailand's largest island is connected to the mainland by bridge, still with a coastline so varied. It contains everything from the crowded energy of Patong Beach to quiet coves where the water runs clear over white sand without another person in sight. PHANGAN Bay extends from the island's northeastern shore, with limestone casts rising from the sea in shapes that seem designed rather than natural. With Koh Tapu being the needle-shaped island that the James Bond film made famous. The old Phuket town preserves Sino-Portuguese architecture along Thalang Road, in buildings painted in shades of yellow, blue, and green that glow in the afternoon light. The island rewards those who explore beyond the obvious, offering a depth that its reputation as a party island has long obscured. Phuket is genuinely beautiful when you know where to look beyond the tourist beaches. KRABI. The province stretches along the Andaman coast in a landscape of limestone cliffs, mangrove forests, and islands scattered across water so clear that the sea floor is visible at depths that would be invisible in most of the world's oceans. The mainland town of KRABI serves as a hub from which long-tail boats depart daily for RAILAY, the 4 islands, Koh Lanta, and the Phi Phi archipelago. With the journey through cast-studded channels being as spectacular as any destination at its end. And the Tiger Cave Temple sits above the town on a limestone massif. where a climb of 1,237 steps leads to a summit from which the entire coastline spreads below. The mangrove kayaking routes through AYUTTHAYA follow channels so narrow that the routes close overhead. With the ecosystem inside being a world entirely separate from the tourist beaches. The archipelago consists of 6 islands in the Andaman Sea between Phuket and KRABI. With Phi Phi Don being the only inhabited island and Phi Phi Lay being the uninhabited limestone formation whose Maya Bay became globally famous after it appeared in the film The Beach in 2000. Phi Phi Don has the energy of a party island concentrated into a narrow strip of land between 2 bays, with the nightlife, restaurants, and dive shops, creating an atmosphere that feels simultaneously chaotic and irresistible. And the snorkeling around Phi Phi is among the best accessible from a beach in Thailand. With the coral gardens of Hin Phi and Shark Point hosting leopard sharks, turtles, and reef fish in water that turns from turquoise to deep blue within 100 meters of the shore. Maya Bay reopened in 2022 after 4 years of closure. The 3rd largest island in Thailand sits in the Gulf of Thailand off the coast of Surat Thani province. But with a ring road that circles the island in 80 kilometers and passes through coconut palm plantations, fishing villages, waterfall-fed streams, and resorts ranging from budget bungalows to overwater villas. Chaweng Beach on the island's east coast is the most developed stretch, with the strip of bars, restaurants, and hotels creating an atmosphere that is lively to the point of excess during high season. The Big Buddha Temple at Koh Phan contains a 12-meter golden-seated Buddha that is visible across the water for miles. With the temple being an active place of worship despite the steady stream of tourists. The interior of the island contains rubber plantations, viewpoints above the cloud line, and the Nam Tok Nam Wang waterfalls, where the water runs rust red over pink granite into pools deep enough to swim. Thus, the island is best known internationally for the full moon party at Hat Rin Beach. A monthly gathering that began in 1985 with a small group of travelers and has grown into an event attracting between 20 and 30,000 people who dance on the beach through the night under the full moon. The island beyond Hat Rin is a completely different place, with the northern and western coasts being quiet, forested, and lined with beaches that see a fraction of the traffic that the southern tip attracts. Bottle Beach on the north coast is accessible by boat or by a 40-minute hike through the jungle, with the reward being a crescent of sand enclosed by forested hills on 3 sides and the sea on the 4th. The island's yoga retreat industry has grown significantly, with dozens of centers offering programs from weekend workshops to month-long immersive courses. The smallest of the 3 main Gulf of Thailand islands covers 21 square kilometers of forested hills, granite boulders, and coral-fringed coastline that has become the most popular dive training destination in the world. With over 200,000 PATTAYA certifications issued on the island every year. The surrounding waters are the reason for this, with visibility regularly exceeding 20 meters. And the marine life, including whale sharks, bull sharks, leopard sharks, hawksbill turtles, and reef fish in densities that make even snorkeling from the beach an extraordinary experience. Sail Rock, a submerged pinnacle between KHAO and PHANGAN, is the best dive site in the Gulf of Thailand. With the vertical swim-through chimney through the rock being one of the most exciting passages in Asian diving. The island's resorts and dive schools are concentrated on the western shore. AYUTTHAYA. The city was the capital of the Kingdom of Siam for 417 years, from 1351 to 1767. When it was one of the largest and wealthiest cities in the world, with a population of 1 million people at a time when London had fewer than 700,000. The kingdom fell when the Burmese army invaded and sacked the city in 1767. Burning the temples and destroying most of what had taken centuries to build. With the ruins that remain covering an island formed by the junction of 3 rivers. Wat Mahathat is the most famous image from AYUTTHAYA, where a stone Buddha head is cradled within the roots of a banyan tree. The roots having grown slowly around the carved stone over centuries in an image that has become one of the most reproduced photographs in Thailand. The AYUTTHAYA Historical Park is UNESCO listed and contains dozens of temples, palaces, and fortifications. The city was the first capital of the Siamese kingdom established in the 13th century when Thai princes threw off the Khmer Empire's dominance and created a civilization of their own that would shape the language, religion, and culture of modern Thailand more profoundly than any subsequent period. The historical park covers over 7,000 hectares and contains the ruins of nearly 200 temples spread across a landscape of ponds, lotus fields, and ancient walls. Wat Mahathat at the center of the old city is the largest and most significant temple. With the lotus bud shedis that define SUKHOTHAI's architectural style, rising from a reflecting pool that mirrors the towers in the early morning when the mist is still low. The Ramkhamhaeng National Museum beside the park displays artifacts from the Sukhothai period, including the famous inscription of King Ramkhamhaeng from 1292, Pattaya. The city on the eastern Gulf Coast has spent decades trying to reinvent itself. Beyond the reputation for nightlife and sex tourism that the Vietnam War-era American military presence established, with considerable success in some areas and ongoing challenges in others. The city's waterfront is genuinely attractive, with the beachfront promenade, the Central Festival shopping complex, and the restaurants along Beach Road, creating a modern coastal town that bears little resemblance to the walking street image that dominates its international reputation. The offshore islands of Koh Lan are reachable by ferry in 45 minutes and offer beaches with clear water and coral reefs. The Sanctuary of Truth is the most remarkable structure in the area, a temple built entirely from wood without a single nail. And covering over 2,000 square meters and rising 45 meters in a structure that has been under continuous construction since 1981. Kanchanaburi. The province is where the River Kwai flows through mountains that were the setting for one of the Second World War's darkest chapters. Forced with the death railway built by Allied prisoners of war and Asian laborers under conditions of deliberate brutality that killed over 12,000 Allied prisoners, and between 80 and 100,000 Asian workers in the 14 months between 1942 and 1943. The bridge on the River Kwai stands in the town, its steel arches repaired after Allied bombing raids in 1945. And the train that still crosses it daily carries passengers who look down at the river below without always understanding that the ground beneath the tracks was purchased at a human cost that is almost impossible to comprehend. The Jeeth War Museum and the Allied War Cemetery provide the historical context that the bridge itself cannot. Beyond the history, the province contains the ERAWAN National Park waterfall system. The small town in a mountain valley in Mae Hong Son province is 300 kilometers north of Chiang Mai by road, but accessible only via a route of 762 curves that descends and climbs through forested hills in a bus ride that either fills passengers with wonder at the scenery or fills them with regret for having eaten lunch before boarding. The town has been discovered and rediscovered by travelers since the 1980s, with its combination of cool mountain air, hot springs, waterfalls, hill tribe villages, and a creative community of artists, musicians, and cafe owners, creating an atmosphere that feels simultaneously relaxed and alive. The Pai Canyon, known locally as Kong Lan, offers narrow sandstone ridges with sheer drops on both sides that provide views across the valley in the golden light of late afternoon. The hot springs at Tha Pai and the Mo Peng waterfall are within easy cycling distance. Hua Hin, the royal resort town on the Gulf of Thailand, is 3 hours south of Bangkok by car. With a history as a retreat for the Thai royal family that dates to the 1920s when King Rama VII built the Klai Kangwon Palace, whose name means far from worries, on the seafront at the northern end of the beach. The beach itself stretches for 5 kilometers of firm sand backed by the town on one side and the Gulf of Thailand on the other, east. With the water being calmer and warmer than the Andaman beaches to the south. The town center retains its historic character in areas like the night market on Deshanuchit Road and the Hua Hin railway station. Built in 1926 in a distinctive Thai royal waiting room style that makes it one of the most photographed stations in the country. The golf courses surrounding Hua Hin are among the finest in Asia, with Black Mountain and Banyan golf clubs drawing players from across the world. A railway beach. The peninsula on the KRABI coast is accessible only by boat, because the limestone cliffs at its neck make road access physically impossible. And this geographical accident has preserved it as one of the most beautiful places in Thailand, while keeping the development that follows roads at a permanent distance. The peninsula has 4 beaches on its different sides, with Phra Nang Beach on the southern end being consistently ranked among the most beautiful beaches in Asia. With white sand, backed by jungle, and framed by cliffs that rise 200 meters from the waterline. The rock climbing on Railay's limestone walls attracts climbers from around the world. with routes of every difficulty cut into rock above the sea. The cave shrine at Phra Nang is filled with offerings left by fishermen seeking good fortune, reminding visitors that this place was considered sacred long before the first tourist arrived. SIMILAN Islands. The 11 granite islands in the Andaman Sea are 60 kilometers from the PHANG coast, with the national park that surrounds them being closed annually from May to October to allow the marine ecosystem to recover from the diving and snorkeling pressure that the remaining months bring. The name SIMILAN derives from the Malay word for 9, which was the number of main islands when the park was established. Though 2 additional islands have since been incorporated. The diving here is consistently ranked among the best in Asia, with the west side of the islands offering the dramatic topography of deep walls and caves, while the east side has shallow coral gardens that provide world-class snorkeling accessible to visitors without any diving experience. The water temperature remains between 27 and 30 degrees Celsius throughout the dive season, with the visibility reaching 30 meters on good days. So the island sits at the edge of the Andaman Sea near the Malaysian border, with coral reefs surrounding the island and streets too narrow for vehicles, making the island small enough to walk across, but large enough to spend days in genuine contentment. The island was historically inhabited by the Chaolei sea nomads, who lived on boats and temporary shore settlements. Though the tourism boom has transformed the island economy, and the traditional way of life has largely been replaced by guest houses and restaurant operations. The island is inside the Trutao National Marine Park, though the park regulations are loosely enforced and development has proceeded rapidly over the past 2 decades. The beaches are genuinely beautiful, with Sunrise Beach on the east coast and Sunset Beach on the west providing the expected views, while Pattaya Beach in the center has the most development and the liveliest atmosphere. The long, narrow island in KRABI province is 27 kilometers from north to south and connected to the mainland by a pair of ferries that cross the channels at its northern end. With the western coast facing the Andaman Sea in a straight run of beaches that transition from the busier resorts at the northern end to near-complete quiet at the southern tip. The old town on the southeastern shore is a settlement of wooden houses on stilts above the water. established by Malay, Muslim, and Chinese fishing communities whose descendants still live there. The LANTA National Park at the island's southern tip protects the last of the island's forested interior. With the park's beaches being accessible by dirt road and largely empty even in the high season. The diving around KHAO, a cluster of limestone islands and submerged pinnacles southwest of LANTA, is the best in KRABI province. PHANG Bai. The body of water between Phuket and the KRABI mainland covers 400 square kilometers of mangrove channels, limestone islands, and shallow sea that represents one of the most visually dramatic seascapes in the world. With the karst towers rising vertically from the water in formations that appear geologically impossible until you understand the process of differential erosion that has been sculpting them for tens of millions of years. James Bond Island, formerly known as Koh Tapu, was made internationally famous by the 1974 film The Man with the Golden Gun, and now receives so many visitors daily that the experience of seeing it from the water is complicated by the boats that surround it. And the sea caves and hong within the hollow interiors of some karst islands are accessible by sea kayak at certain tidal levels, with the interior chambers being open to the sky through roof collapses that allow mangroves and birds to inhabit spaces entirely hidden from the sea. ERAWAN National Park. The national park in Kanchanaburi province takes its name from the mythological three-headed elephant of Hindu and Buddhist tradition. With the shape of the uppermost of its 7 waterfalls, said to resemble an elephant's head, though the real reason to visit has nothing to do with resemblance and everything to do with the actual quality of the water. The emerald green pools and the limestone formations that make this cascade system one of the most beautiful natural environments in Thailand. The trail to the 7th and highest tier covers 2 kilometers through dense forest. With the first 3 tiers being accessible without effort, and the upper tiers requiring increasingly serious climbing. The fish in the lower pools are blue surgeonfish that swim in schools around wading visitors and nibble gently at exposed skin in an accidental pedicure that is either delightful or alarming, depending on disposition. The national park in Chiang Mai province contains the highest peak in Thailand at 2,565 meters. Now, with the summit being cold enough for frost in winter and cool enough year-round to support plant communities more typical of southern China, than tropical Thailand. The twin royal chedis, built in the late 20th century to honor the king and queen, are the most visited structures in the park. With their elaborate terraced gardens containing flowers from temperate climates that grow at this elevation with the same vigor they would in European botanical gardens. The waterfalls within the park, particularly Wachirathan and Mae Klang, are among the most powerful in northern Thailand. Fed by the reliable rainfall that the mountain's elevation attracts. The park's bird diversity is exceptional by any standard, with over 360 species recorded within its boundaries, making it one of the most important birdwatching destinations in Southeast Asia. Golden Triangle, the area where Thailand, Laos, and Myanmar meet at the confluence of the Ruak and Mekong rivers, was historically the center of the opium trade that made the region notorious throughout the 20th century. And provided much of the heroin that supplied the global market during the Vietnam War era and for decades afterward. The town of Sop Ruak in Chiang Mai province sits at the exact confluence point and has been developed as a tourist destination centered on the Golden Triangle's reputation. With boat rides on the Mekong offering views of the Laos and Myanmar shores. The Hall of Opium at the Greater Mekong Sub-Region Development Project is a genuinely impressive museum that treats the history of opium and its devastation with the seriousness it deserves. Tracing the drug's history from its ancient origins through the British trade with China, the colonial-era addictions, and the modern narcotics networks. Lampang, the city in northern Thailand, is famous for its horse-drawn carriages that continue to operate as tourist transportation. And as everyday vehicles for locals, making it the last city in Thailand where this form of transport remains common, rather than being purely a tourist attraction. The city contains over 200 temples, with Wat Phra Dat Lampang Luang being the most significant. In a Lana-style temple complex enclosed by walls and entered through a wooden gate that dates from the 16th century. The Thai Elephant Conservation Center outside the city provides care for retired and rescued elephants, with the facility being run by the Forest Industry Organization and focused on conservation and welfare rather than entertainment, though visitors can observe the elephants and support the center through entry fees. And the city is quieter and less visited than Chiang Mai or Chiang Rai, offering northern Thai culture without the tourist infrastructure. UDON THANI. The city in northeastern Thailand is primarily known as a regional commercial center and as a base for visiting the Ban Chiang archaeological site. The UNESCO World Heritage Village, where the discovery of prehistoric pottery and bronze artifacts in 1966 fundamentally revised the understanding of early civilization in Southeast Asia. With the finds suggesting that bronze was being worked in the region as early as 2100 BCE. Centuries before the technology appeared in China. The National Museum at Ban Chiang displays the excavated pottery, with its characteristic swirling red-on-buff patterns being immediately recognizable, alongside tools, jewelry, and burial artifacts that together paint a picture of a sophisticated agricultural community living on the KRABI Plateau 4,000 years ago. The Nong Prajak Public Park in the city center is a large lake surrounded by parkland that is essentially the social heart of the city. ISAAN region. The northeastern region of Thailand covers a third of the country's land area and is home to over 20 million people, making it the most populous region in Thailand while also being the poorest. Or with the red laterite soil of the KRABI Plateau being less agriculturally productive than the Central Plains, and the rivers less reliable in a region where drought and flood alternate with punishing regularity. The culture of ISAAN is distinct from Central Thai culture in ways that go beyond the Lao-influenced dialect spoken by most of its residents, extending to the food, the music, the festivals, and the values of communities that have maintained their own identity despite the centralizing pressures of the Bangkok government. The food of ISAAN is some of the best in Thailand, with some tam green papaya salad, lab minced meat salad with toasted rice and herbs, and sticky rice forming the foundation of a cuisine that has become popular internationally. TRANG, and the province in southern Thailand, has coastline on both the Andaman Sea and islands offshore that are less visited than the KRABI and PHUKET Islands to the north, primarily because they are further from the international airports that funnel most of Thailand's tourists into the more accessible northern sections of the coast. The main islands, including Koh Muk, Koh Kraden, Koh Libong, and Koh Nai, each have distinct characters that range from the extraordinary Emerald Cave at Koh Muk to the dugong habitat at Koh Libong, where the world's second largest population of these gentle marine mammals grazes on the seagrass beds. The Emerald Cave is a sea cave that must be entered by swimming through a 60-meter-long dark tunnel, with the reward being a hidden beach inside the mountain, enclosed by jungle-covered cliffs with a circle of sky visible above. Koh Kradan offers some of the best snorkeling from the beach itself. KHAO Sok National Park. The national park in Surat Thani province covers over 700 square kilometers of rainforest that is believed to be older than the rainforests of the Amazon. With the limestone casts that emerge from the canopy predating most of the other geological features in Southeast Asia. The park contains Chio Lan Lake, an enormous reservoir created in 1982 when the Ratchaprapha Dam was built. But flooding the forested valley and leaving the limestone peaks standing above the waterline in formations that are now among the most photographed landscapes in southern Thailand. Floating raft houses on the lake allow visitors to spend nights in the middle of the reservoir, surrounded by karst towers that rise directly from the water. The park's lowland forest is one of the last remaining habitats of the Rafflesia kerri, the largest flower in the world. Which grows as a parasite on the roots of specific vines and blooms for only a few days. SURIN Islands. The archipelago in the Andaman Sea near the Myanmar border is part of the Muko SURIN National Park and is accessible by speedboat from Kuraburi on the mainland, with the journey taking approximately 90 minutes when sea conditions allow. The islands are inhabited seasonally by the Moken Sea nomads who maintain semi-traditional lifestyles while participating in park management and tourism activities that provide income while allowing some continuation of cultural practices. The diving and snorkeling around the SURIN Islands is exceptional, with the coral reefs being among the healthiest in Thailand due to the island's distance from the mainland and the strict protection measures that limit fishing and development. And the park is closed annually from May through October when the monsoon makes sea conditions dangerous and when the ecosystem is allowed to recover from the tourism pressure of the dry season. The islands represent Thai marine conservation at its most successful. TRAT, the small provincial capital in the far southeastern corner of Thailand, near the Cambodian border, is visited primarily by travelers on their way to the islands of Koh Chang and Koh Wai. Koh Mak and Koh Kood, with the town itself being a pleasant and unpretentious place of wooden shophouses, good seafood restaurants, and a morning market that reflects the trading character of a border province where Thai, Cambodian, and Vietnamese commercial networks overlap. The town has a gemstone market that reflects the region's historical role as a center of the Thai gem trade. With the red spinels known as Siamese rubies having been mined in the province for centuries and traded along networks that connected TRAT to merchants from across Asia. The coastal road south of the town passes through mangrove forests and fishing villages before reaching the ferry terminals for the islands. With the landscape being less visited and more authentic than the beaches. Lopburi. The city is one of Thailand's oldest, all with a history extending back over 3,000 years through the Dvaravati and Khmer periods. With the remains of the 12th century Khmer sanctuary of Phra Prang Sam Yot standing in the center of the modern town as evidence of the civilization that built Angkor Wat, also extending its influence deep into what is now Thailand. The city is also famously home to thousands of long-tailed macaques that have taken over the Phra Prang Sam Yot temple complex and much of the surrounding area. With the monkeys treating the ancient stone towers as their personal playground and launching points for raids on the markets and restaurants below. The annual Monkey Buffet Festival in November provides the macaques with a feast of fruit, vegetables, and sweets arranged on long tables around the temple. With the event drawing both local media and international visitors who watch the spectacle. Thailand has 70 million people living in a country that has never been colonized. With a culture shaped by Buddhism and monarchy that remains distinctly Thai despite globalization and tourism that brings 30 million visitors annually. The beaches are real, the food is extraordinary, the temples are genuine, and the smiles are both a marketing tool and cultural practice rooted in the concept of Sanuk that prioritizes enjoyment and harmony. Yet Thailand is also political instability, environmental destruction, economic inequality, and social tensions that the tourism industry carefully hides from visitors who arrive seeking the land of smiles without understanding the complications beneath. Subscribe to Passport Unfolded for journeys through places as they actually are, rather than as marketing presents them. "35 locations across Thailand, from Bangkok to Mae Hong Son, from Phuket to the ISAAN countryside, from ancient capitals to island paradises. All beautiful, all complicated, all genuinely Thai.